Hello, and welcome to the Living My Human Design podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Hoover, and I'm so excited that you're here. I have been on a self-healing journey since my early 20s, and when I discovered human design in January of 2021, I felt like I had finally found what I had spent the last 20 years searching for. I believe that if we live as our authentic selves, having forgiveness, compassion, love, and understanding in our hearts, that ripples out and positively impacts everyone we interact with. That is how we have the biggest positive impact on the world. My purpose is to be a beacon of light in the world, attracting those who have broken down, fallen apart, and are stuck under the weight of life, and help them rise up as their true authentic selves. By sharing my human design experiment through this podcast, I hope to encourage others to begin their own healing journey by experimenting with their own human design. Continue listening and join me on this life-changing experiment of self-discovery. Hello, and welcome to episode 10. Today we will be checking in on how your experiment has been going, and then I'm going to be talking a bit about the emotional waves for those who carry emotional authority. So, how has your experiment been going? I wanted to share a little bit about how my experiment was going over the last week. And on the note of responding as a manifesting generator, I am supposed to wait to respond. And so I had this idea drop in that I wanted to connect more with my voice and be able to speak easier and be more comfortable as I record these podcasts and just in speaking in general and trusting what comes out of my mouth. And so I had a thought drop in that I should just record my voice on a daily basis just to get used to that speaking aspect. But this was an internal inspiration, and so I wanted to wait for signs in my external reality to show me that this was, in fact, the path that I was supposed to go down. And so I wrote it down in my journal, and then a few days later, in a group that I am in, someone had, it's a human design group, and someone had made a post about how they were having some problems with their voice and trusting their voice. And a friend of mine had commented that she too had experienced a time where she was trying to reconnect with her voice. And something that she did that really helped her out was recording her voice on a regular basis and practicing that speaking, and then also becoming a guest on podcasts, even though that was really out of her comfort zone, as a way to help reconnect with her voice. So there was one sign. And then a couple days later, in another group that I'm in, it's a meditation group with some women all over the world. We call it our goddess group. And the woman who leads this was talking about how she had trained her voice for reading the meditations by projecting her voice up the stairs in her home to someone that was upstairs so that she could make sure that her voice was projecting the way that with power and with the tone and resonance that she wanted it to during the meditation. So she had also practiced speaking her voice. And so that was my sign too. And so I have decided that I am going to now take a few moments every day to record my voice, to just get used to it and be more comfortable in front of this microphone. Because I'm just an average everyday person stepping outside of my comfort zone, taking imperfect action, and sharing this amazing tool of human design, which I think has a huge beneficial impact for any person who is open to learn more about it. So that was one thing that popped up for me this week. And then another thing that popped up that I responded to is I'm a member of Emma Dunwoody's HDX community. And she had a live class last week about routines, rituals, and success. And I really resonated with a lot of the information that was provided in this class. And one of the things that I already do is a morning meditation routine. So every morning when I wake up, I meditate for about 20 or 30 minutes. But I'm trying to move my body more because we live in a 37-foot fifth wheel, and my husband and I both work remotely inside this fifth wheel from desks. So we are sitting a lot and we don't move around a lot. And so we're trying to move our bodies more. And so one thing that I decided to add in to my morning routine is when I make my coffee in the morning, I put on my AirPods because my husband's still sleeping. And I just kind of dance around the RV while I wait for the water to boil. And then while I'm doing the pour over. So it's about 15 minutes or so to make coffee. And I'm just kind of dancing around the RV, listening to some of my favorite songs that kind of lift me up and help give me some energy for the day, which really, really helps. And then I'm also reading for 30 minutes in the morning when I first wake up. There's so many things that I want to read and listen to and expand my knowledge base. And there's just so many things that I'm interested in right now. And that way I can make sure that I can get to everything that I want to by just taking that 30 minutes a day. And then, so last week we were speaking about authorities. And my authority is the emotional authority, which comes with a wave of highs and lows. And I'm going to be speaking a little bit more about those emotional waves in today's podcast. But on Monday, I woke up and I had an emotionally low day. There was no reason for it. I just was kind of in an emotionally low day. And with this emotional low came low energy as well. So there was nothing externally that had caused this low. It was just a natural part of my rhythm, my emotional wave. And so I honored this energy and I just took it easy. I still did my workout with my husband, and that kind of helped boost my mood a little bit. But I just listened to some podcasts in the evening, took it easy, and went to bed a little bit early. And I woke up the next morning and my emotional wave was a little higher. I didn't feel quite so low. So today we're going to talk about emotional authority and the emotional waves that accompany this authority. So everyone with emotional authority has an ever-present mechanical wave that moves through periods of highs and lows and everything in between. So this isn't the mind that's creating the emotion, the feeling, or the mood. It's a natural, inescapable chemical process that keeps the wave in constant motion. And what frequently happens is the wave or the feelings trigger conditioned stories or beliefs that then amplify the wave. See, society makes us feel like we should be happy all the time. And as a result, most people with emotional authority fight against this low side of their wave, thinking that something's wrong with them. But there's nothing wrong with them. It's really important that you become aware that you have this ever-present wave and just embrace the emotional wave. Honor your moods and recognize that they're just a natural part of you. The more that you fight your emotions and the more that you fight this wave, the more dramatic your highs and lows are going to be. Now, you may be wondering, how do you figure out what your emotional wave is? So if you take a look at your chart, and if you haven't pulled your chart yet, you can get that for free on my website. It's livingmyhumandesign.com, and there's a link down in the show notes for you to be able to get your chart. So you're going to want to take a look at your chart, and then you're going to want to look at the emotional solar plexus. Now that's the little triangle that's off on the very right-hand side of your chart. And then on that emotional solar plexus, in that little triangle, there'll be numbers within there. I think there's 6 numbers in there. And those are called gates. And that if you have a defined gate, then it'll have a circle around it. And then you see the little lines that are coming off of that emotional solar plexus. Those are called channels. And so if you have a channel that is completely colored in and connects your emotional solar plexus to another center, that is an emotional wave. And it is possible for a person with emotional authority to have more than one emotional wave. So take a look at your chart and identify which emotional wave you have, like what channel it comes out of, and then follow along as I go through the 4 different types of emotional waves. So the first wave that we're going to talk about is the source of all waves, and this is the channel 59.6. So this emotional wave comes out of gate 6, and it reaches across to the fertile power of the sacral gate 59. This emotional wave is all about, this is where passions and desires are created in order to break down barriers and open the way for intimacy. It's a very stable yet hidden emotional wave that takes another person to pull it out. So it can emerge more intensely in intimate relationships. So this is the emotional wave that I have. And so most of the time it's pretty stable. And I do have these little ups and, highs and lows. And I do find that the people who can pull out my emotions most are those who are closest to me. So my husband, my kids, my parents, they tend to be able to pull those emotions out of me easier than strangers. And so sometimes, like, you might have these emotions underneath that may not be fully aware of, and then someone can like touch you, someone close to you, and then those emotions can kind of burst out. And the more that you're indulging your emotions, the more you're going to have these big emotional responses. So pay attention to that. Next, we have the tribal wave. And the tribal wave is the channel, the 1949 or the 3740. So this wave operates through physical touch and the sensitivity to needs. So this wave operates like a ratchet, and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up until it suddenly explodes with emotion. And this explosion is not always in proportion to the trigger or the moment of release. It's something that's been building up over a period of time, and then one more thing pushes it over the edge, like the straw that broke the camel's back. And then after this big explosion of emotion, then the wave resets itself not too long after that, and then it starts the process all over again. So the most effective way to soothe the impact of the explosion that builds up from emotional tension and a desire for intimacy is by showing affection through touch. So a simple hand quietly placed on the back of a loved one after a tough day can help to diffuse this wave. It's all about intimacy and connection through touch and physical connection. Okay, now our third wave is the individual wave, and it comes out of the 3955 and the 2212. And this wave operates through the expression of moodiness, emotions, melancholy, or passion, but only when a person is in the mood. So a person with this emotional wave will move along an even keel most of the time with smaller ups and downs. And these up and downs can be sudden and intense. And they can quickly shift to an emotional high or low. And then just as quickly, they can come back into stillness or into that even keel. So if you have this wave, it's really important for you to know when to be alone and when to be social. And don't force actions when you're not in the mood. And do small things that bring you joy and peace. And when you're in these kind of melancholy, low moods, that's a really creative energy. So maybe just kind of be aware of that and keep that in your awareness. And then we have the fourth wave, which is the abstract wave. And it's the 3655 and the 4130. And this wave operates through desire and feelings. So it moves from peaks to valleys based on expectations. And when expectations aren't met, this wave can come crashing down. So say like you're planning a vacation and you imagine in your head how you want the experience to go and all the fun and wonderful things that you're going to do and how much time you're going to spend at the beach, reading and relaxing and listening to the ocean waves, and how you're just going to have this feeling of peace and calm, and you really build up this experience in your head. And then you get to your vacation and you have really bad weather for 3 days, unseasonably bad weather. And then your emotional wave comes crashing down, and you can't even enjoy other potential activities because your expectations weren't met and you've just come crashing down. So the key with the abstract wave is to don't place a lot of expectations on things. Enter into something just for the experience without placing expectations on the outcome. And you may be really surprised by the amazing journey that this takes you on. So those are our 4 emotional waves. And it's important to honor the emotional waves when making decisions. We've all made decisions in the moment and regretted it later. And an example from my life is when my husband and I were getting ready to put our house on the market. We decided that we were going to sell our house and buy an RV and live in an RV full time and travel around the United States after our youngest son graduated from school. And so we were in the process of putting together a garage sale. We had been in our house for 17 years and we had accumulated a lot of stuff. And we were drastically downsizing our lives, so we had a lot of stuff to get rid of. And my husband and I are both manifesting generators, so we came into this decision rather quickly, and then we took off once we decided to go. So from the time we made the decision until our house sold was about 3 months. And so we were getting ready for a garage sale, and my mother-in-law had invited us out to her house for Taco Tuesday. And because some cousins were in town, were visiting from, a couple 100 miles away. And so we immediately said yes. Instead of sitting on it and thinking about it, we felt it wasn't really an obligation. I mean, we really do love this family and we enjoy spending time with them. But we had a lot of other stuff on our plate. And as soon as I said yes that we would come, immediately my sacral just kind of went, it kind of closed in on itself, or it just constricted. There was like this constriction feeling. So I knew in that moment that we probably should have said no. But we went ahead and we went to this dinner, and it was the night before our garage sale. It was like a Thursday, and we were going to start the garage sale on Friday. And I wasn't 100% ready. I mean, we had a lot of stuff to go through. So we went out for dinner, and I told my mother-in-law that we'd probably have to leave a little bit early so that we could get home and I could get working on this garage sale. And so we enjoyed the dinner, and we did leave a little bit early. And then we got stopped by an accident on the freeway, and it took us almost 2 hours to get home. It normally only takes us 45 minutes to travel between our houses at the time, and it took us forever. So by the time I got home, I didn't have time to do all the stuff that I wanted to do to get ready for this garage sale. And my mom came over the next morning and was helping me get ready, and it took me like 2 hours to put everything out once the garage sale started, because I was still trying to price things and people were coming early and trying to buy things, and I was really frazzled, and it was a really stressful time. And it could have been a whole lot less stressful if I would have honored my emotional wave and sat with that decision. My mother-in-law and our family would have completely understood if we said, you know what, we love you guys. We would really love to spend this time with you, but we have this garage sale that we're getting ready for, and we just don't really have the time. And they would have been absolutely okay with it. So it's really important to honor your emotional wave and to not make decisions in the moment, because you're not designed to. You're designed to take your time and feel through your life and feel what is correct for you. So it's for my fellow sacral being emotional authority people, so generators and manifesting generators, you will get that initial yes from your sacral. So it will still light up. It'll still give you that yes. It'll give you that expansive feeling or that constriction feeling for a no. And sometimes that'll be a big hell yes. And you'll get really excited for something, but you still need to slow down and sit with it and run through your emotional wave to make sure that it does stay a yes for you for that whole 24-hour period. Or it could be shorter, or it could be longer, but take that time. It's really, really important. And with emotional authority, again, you'll never be 100% sure in a decision, and you're not looking for certainty, you're looking for clarity. So the decision will feel right in your body. There will be this peacefulness in the decision, like it's the most natural thing in the world. So for the next week, if you are an emotional authority, just bring awareness to your emotional wave. If you have a burst of emotion during the week, take a look back and see what led up to it. Had you been indulging low feelings? Had you been trying to hold on tightly to those high feelings? Where were your expectations? And maybe think about a time when you didn't honor your emotional authority and you made a decision that didn't turn out so well. And make a note of that. Show your brain, hey, when I make decisions in the moment, it doesn't always turn out great. And maybe think about a time when you had that emotional piece in a decision, when you did sit on it, and how did that go? And then write that down. And if you have any questions on your emotional authority or any of the other authorities that we went through in last week's episode, in episode 8, then please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or on Facebook. There are links in the show notes. Or if you have a story that you'd like to share, please do that. I'd love to hear your wins. Well, I think that pretty much does it for our emotional waves and a little bit more on emotional authority. I trust that you found some value in today's episode, and I hope that you have a great week. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of the podcast. If you like what you heard here today, please take a moment to leave a review. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified when the next episode is released. If you have any questions, please connect with me on Instagram or Facebook. You can find the links down below in the show notes. And don't forget to grab your free copy of your human design chart from my website, livingmyhumandesign.com, or you can click the link in the show notes below. And if you're interested in an in-depth conversation about your human design chart, you can schedule an unpack with me at my website, livingmyhumandesign.com. Again, that link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to catching you on the next podcast. Talk to you soon.